Beshem Hashem, Naaseh veNatzliach. We are in the month of Tevet, the 4th of Tevet. And in these learning circles, the first goal is to work on our relationships with ourselves, with Hashem, and with people around us. But we also speak a lot about time, especially recently. Our lens has shifted a little bit. So in Judaism, we don't relate to time as something empty or just neutral. Time for us has a personality, has texture, has, we can call it a spiritual climate. It provides us with a map for our inner life. Each month has a specific climate, both naturally and also um, reflecting our inner work, our inner world. So, just like in nature, different months of the year are suited for different agricultural work, like planting, pruning, harvesting, and different sorts of agricultural work. Also, different parts of the calendar are more conducive to certain types of inner work. What does it mean? It means that even though technically we can work on different areas of growth at the same time, any time of the year. However, certain times in the calendar are better for certain types of work, for working on certain character traits or midot, because each month has a specific energy that's more accessible to us. So even though we can work on different areas anytime that we want in any order, our work will be more effective if we live in sync with time, not just going through the motions day by day, but living in sync with time. Time. For us, time is both linear and cyclical. It's linear because we move forward. After each day comes the next day. We age, we progress. Time is like a line. That's why people make timelines. But on a deeper level, Jewish time is also cyclical. Every year, we revisit the same month, the same holidays. We come back to Rosh Hashanah again, to Yom Kippur again, to Sukkot, to everything, to Hanukkah again. So we came back to the same point in calendar, but we are not the same people that we were last year. For example, when Tevet returns, it's not repeating Tevet again every year. It's like revisiting a familiar landscape, this time with a different vision, with different understanding. And this matters especially for women, because as women, we are more in tune to cycles, emotionally, physically, and also spiritually. Our bodies even move in rhythm with cycles. That's why time feels more real to us, more experienced, not just something abstract. And Judaism speaks to this. Judaism gives us language to express these ideas that a lot of us already intuitively feel about time. And in Jewish thought, women are traditionally compared to moon, which has its own cycles, not because we are passive, but because we have tremendous capacity to receive, to hold, to reflect. And that is why this type of learning about inner work, but in sync with time, with Jewish months and the Hebrew calendar, is especially beneficial for us, for women. So instead of fighting the ups and downs of the time, we all notice that there are certain times of the year that we feel more inspired, we want to do something, we want to go out, we have more energy. And there are times that we withdraw, we go in. So instead of fighting these ups and downs, we want to learn to work with them, to understand what type of inner work is being supported in each month right now. But we don't want to study the months in these learning circles just as abstract ideas, technical charts. We want to see what is being asked of us every month and to choose the type of work that's aligned with that month. We want to listen to time, to live in sync with time. In the beginning, when I started this circle, I think it was in June, we have already had 18 circles together, Baruch Hashem. I called it building and nurturing relationships with self, with God, and with others. That hasn't changed. What we're doing now simply is letting time guide that journey. So it gives us a new lens. We see time as a journey and our soul traveling through this journey of the calendar. We start this journey from Tishrei. The year begins with Tishrei. Tishrei is a month of overflowing. There's an overflow of holiness, of community, communal activity. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, then Sukkot, you're in direct encounter with God. It's a time of standing before Hashem again to reorient, recalibrate ourselves, to see where we're standing. Tishrei is a time that blessings are given from above, directly. It's obvious. There's so much happening. And suddenly Cheshvan, the quiet, the month of inner withdrawal. There are no holidays after the busy month of Tishrei. It's a type of hibernation, both in the nature and also in our soul. We tend to go inwards. And even the root of the name of the month that's connected to the root chash, which means quiet or silent in Hebrew, hints to this fact. So in Cheshvan, we feel that we want a little bit of alone time. It's not loneliness yet, it's a desire for solitude, and we see that also reflected in nature, in the even animal world. After Cheshvan comes Kislev. That desire for solitude that people experience in Cheshvan as the days get shorter and darker, gloomier, rainier, that desire for solitude in Kislev starts to feel like loneliness. Towards the end of Kislev, we already feel that we have had enough of it. We desire for community, for going out, and that's when we have Hanukkah. That's when the shift happens, when we have that desire to connect, that desire for warmth. When we actively kindle a light, and then that light is reflected back to us stronger from Hashem. Our little act of bitachon, of trust in Hashem, in kindling that light becomes a miracle. And that was the story of Hanukkah. So Kislev taught us that light doesn't always descend from heaven, obvious, like in Tishrei. Sometimes we need to take the initiative. We need to do something. We need to light the menorah. We need to look for that pach shemen, that jar of oil, like the Maccabees did. And then there will be an openness. And dreams can come true. Miracles can happen. That was Kislev. After that comes Tevet. After Hanukkah ends, Hanukkah flows into Tevet. Tevet is what comes after the candles go out. No more Hanukkah. It's not darkness, but it's a different way of seeing the world around us. That glow of Hanukkah that's hopefully inside us now, it's glowing inwardly. It helps us to start to see people around us in a different light. The Hasidic masters say that one of the tikkuns, or like fixings, the spiritual works of Hanukkah, is looking at the nerot, at the candles. And they say this is a fixing for the eye, as if it gives us a new vision, And we want that vision to continue into Tevet, to see people around us in a new light. That is why Tevet is connected to relationships. It's a month that we should work on our relationships. It's one step beyond Kislev. In Kislev, there was just towards the end of Kislev, there's this desire to connect. But here, we are more intentional. We want to refine our relationships. We want our relationships actually to become a vessel to draw holiness into our life. But there is a larger framework too, not just month by month. In this system, Jewish mysticism, the year is divided to two parts. The 6 warmer, more luminous and brighter months, and 6 colder and darker months. The warmer and brighter months of the year are associated with giving. We see in the spring and summer, there's more sunlight, more energy coming down from above. And the colder months are associated with receiving. That's why we compare these colder months to the body as opposed to the warmer months that are connected with soul. Why the colder months are connected with body? Because we said there's less energy, less warmth coming down from above. It's more about receiving. And body is the vessel that receives the soul. So these darker and colder months are associated with body. And in fact, we are invited to refine our relationship with our physical needs and desires in different months of this colder chapter of the year. Each month is associated with a different desire. Tevet is associated with the desire for intimacy. That's why we said relationships are a big part of the work of Tevet. Shvat is associated with the desire to eat. That's why we have, what holiday do we have in Shvat? We have Tu B'Shvat. We make blessings on different, on the bounty of the land. It's a time to refine our relationship with the bounty of the land, with the fruits of the land. And Adar is connected with drinking. And it makes sense. We have also Purim in Adar. Now, all of these desires, of course, if not in moderation, have a dark side. Eating can turn to gluttony. Drinking can lead to problems with drinking, with alcohol. Even though in moderation, it can be an expression of joy in a healthy way. And Tevet, we said, is about relationships, intimacy. We want our relationships become a vessel for holiness, not as an outlet to release our self-centeredness.
What are you accusing me?
So in the winter months, in the colder months, we are invited to work on our relationship with body and the physical needs. Just one moment. Okay, I'm so sorry. So yes, we want to work on our relationships, but because Tevet is also strongly associated with body, there is this risk that our relationships might become self-centered if we don't work on them, because body by nature is about self, is self-absorbed, is selfish. but we want to try to not to be takers in the relationship, but learn how to receive with gratitude and to how to give back. And when we work on that, when we work on relationships from this lens, it affects more than just our personal lives. It affects how we relate with the entire world around us and ultimately with the divine. So working on one area of relationship, again, relationship with self, with others, and with Hashem, working on each of these areas can also improve our relationship with other areas, the other relationships. Now back to Tevet. Tevet is traditionally called the closed month. Now, what does that mean? Tevet being a closed month. Um, if you have the source sheet, I invite you to open it now. I will try to share it too, to share the screen, hopefully successfully. If anybody needs it, I would appreciate if you would let me know. Okay. So Tevet, we said, is a closed month. In Kabbalah, we learn that the four-letter name of Hashem, the ineffable name of God, Yud and He and Vav and He, is not just a name in the sense that a name that describes something. We say it's a spiritual map of the world. It describes how divine energy flows all the way from the highest levels of heaven to the lowest levels of our lived reality, our physical reality. And each of those letters have a different quality and they show a different stage of that transmission. Traditionally, two of those letters, let me share the screen with you here. Um, and let me open the file. Okay. So as you see, each letter has a different quality in this process and a different stage in this transmission. The diagram that you see now, it shows how normally that flow of divine energy happens from above to below. From Yud to He, then to Vav to He, and then to He. So the Yud and the Vav show the giver or mashpia quality. And we say this is the masculine energy. The He represents the receiver. And you see the He also looks like if you turn it the other way, it looks like a vessel. It's the receiver. It's the feminine or mekabel. Now, each Jewish month corresponds to a different sequence of these letters. We have said this multiple times in our circles recently. The current order that you see, the natural order, this happens in the month of Nisan, which makes sense. Nisan is a month that miracles are just falling down from heaven. That's Nisan. But Tevet has a different order. The sequence for Tevet is Hey, Yud, Hey, Vav. We said that the Hey represents the receiver, the feminine. Just for the sake of comparison, I also put here the sequence for the past months that we discussed. In Cheshvan, it was Vav, Hey, Hey, Yud. Vav is the lower giver. Yud is the higher giver, but it's still a giver. Kislev, also Vav, Yud, Hey, Hey. So you see, they both started with Vav, with a letter that's a giver, that shows a giver. But in Tevet, it starts with Hey, which is a receiver. Now we're discussing the cosmic understanding of the month, and after this, soon we will move to the emotional meaning of it. How is that reflected in our emotional world? How we experience this in our emotions. So this is Tevet. It starts with Hey. It's from below upward. I'm gonna stop sharing the screen. So because it starts with the receiver, with the Hey, there's little revealed blessing happening, coming to us from above. And the Hey also represents the material world, the physical world, Olama Asiya, the world of action, human effort, physical world. That's why the body is so dominant, feels stronger than the soul in this month. We tend to be more focused on the needs of the body. And then again, the spiritual work is not to wait for light to come to us, but to refine the role of receiver, the mekabel, so that we can transform it into something intentional, something holy, something elevated. Not taking, but receiving with gratitude. If you have been with us for the past couple of circles, you might think that we also said something similar about Kislev. We said that it's a month that the movement is from below upward. And you might be thinking, now we said the same thing about Tevet, that is from below upward. So is this just a nice poetic term? No, the from below upward of Kislev feels very different from Tevet. In Kislev, we said that you start something, the movement is from below, but it's active. It's reaching. You light a candle, you do something, and there is response. A little bit of oil, it lasts for 8 days. You have one small act of bitachon, you take one step towards Hashem, He takes 10 steps towards you. There is warmth, there is inspiration. That's why Hanukkah is such a hopeful, happy time. Kislev, we can say, is about igniting the light. Tevet is different. Tevet is much quieter. The movement starts from below, but nothing lights up right away, immediately. It doesn't mean that nothing is happening. It's just different type of work. Tevet asks us, can I stay generous when I myself don't feel full? Can I stay connected when I don't feel the warmth? Can I give without receiving anything in turn? Can I keep doing without feeling the inspiration? So Kislev taught us how to ignite the light. Tevet invites us to hold on to that light even after the candles go out. So Kislev was from below upward that creates light. Tevet is a from below upward that tests the vessel. It tests us. It tests us whether we can stay with this light and live by this light even after the candles are gone. Now, all of this was nice, but was the cosmic structure of the month. This is what the month of Kislev is spiritually, how it functions spiritually. But now we want to bring it to human terms. How do we feel in this month? How we experience it? We said that Tevet is connected with body, with the heaviness of body. And the element of this month is also earth. Now, each Hebrew month is associated with one of the natural elements. The element of Cheshvan, for example, the month that we start to pray for rain, was water. The element of Kislev, fire. The element of this heavy month is earth. Earth is about heaviness, density, groundedness, even a slowness. When things feel more slow, more restrained, more solid, when life feels a little bit heavier, that makes our reactions change, our emotions change. Something shifts, and the most important part is that it can affect how we relate to others, to other people around us. So Tevet is asking us to think about this. What happens to us when life feels closed, heavy and earthly? We said it's a closed month. And that was the flow of the energy through the divine names. But emotionally also we feel this closeness, heaviness of this month. What are we asked to do? We need to make something clear before we continue. That when we say this is how Tevet feels, like it feels heavy, we feel that the body is more in center than the soul, it doesn't mean that something is wrong in the month or something is wrong with us. It is just the quality of the time. We said we don't want to fight against it. We want to learn to work with it. So Tevet is not a month of spiritual expansion. It's just like Earth, time of digging in, going in. Tevet is connected with Kavet. Each month of the calendar is connected to a body part, to an organ of the body. And the organ connected with Tevet is Kavet, the liver. What does the liver do? By the way, it also, the root of the word is connected with heavy, Kavet, that heaviness. But what does the Kavet or liver do in the body? It governs blood. What does blood do? Blood carries instinct, survival, reactions. When the liver dominates our life, we are not being reflective spiritual people, we are being reactive. Things can feel personal very quickly. Emotions can rise quickly. We can say that our tolerance might feel a little bit lower in this month. This is an area that we need to be careful about. Our defenses are closer to the surface. Again, it's not a failure or a problem with the month or us. It is the quality of the month, which is reflected in our soul. And obviously, that's what happens when the focus is on the body, not the soul, which is the nature of this month. We can say that Tevet lowers our emotional margin for error. This is an area that we need to be careful about. For example, about getting angry. Anger, we said. Each of the months also have a hush or sense. Now, sense here doesn't mean the five senses that we speak about in science. Sense here means a spiritual faculty. The sense of Kislev, for example, was sleep. We said it's a month of dreams, dreams coming true. The sense of Cheshvan was a smell. And what is the sense of Tevet? Sense of Tevet is anger or ka'as. It doesn't mean that we need to try to be angry. It means that this is an area that we need to work on. Again, going back to what I said in the beginning, in theory, we can work on anger any time of the year. It's something that we need to work on. But Tevet is especially conducive to this type of work, working on our anger, on anger issues. That's what we meant by working on ourselves, on our inner world in sync with time. So Tevet is a month that we need to be careful with anger. In Hasidic language, the rabbis are a little bit harsh about anger. They compare anger with idol worship, with idolatry. Why is that? It's not because the person is actually believing in another God, God forbid. Um, it means that at the moment that someone feels angry, they are putting something else other than God in the center of their world. What we're putting in the center when we feel angry? The ego. That's why it's compared with idol worship. What does anger say? That this shouldn't have happened to me. This person shouldn't have said this offensive word to me. As if the reality is not just as is, it needs to answer to me, as if um, the world owes something to me. In other words, it's my anger is my ego in the center. Instead of living a God-centered life, at least in that moment that I cannot control my anger, my ego is in the center. That's why it's compared with idol worship. And that kind of makes sense why Tevet is connected with anger, because we said Tevet comes after the light of the Hanukkah, after the candles go out. Like we don't have that glow of the candles. And what happens when the light is hidden? We can get confused. We can we can take our own ego as absolute truth. Now we can understand something crucial. When we don't see clearly, then we tend to get angry. When we don't see clearly, we tend to get angry. We get activated by something. Something triggers us, and then our vision narrows. We cannot see clearly. And that's why the letter of this month is Ayin. Each Hebrew month is associated with a letter from the alphabet. Tevet is connected with Ayin. What does Ayin mean? In Hebrew, it means eye. But eye is not just seeing like what we see in front of us. Eye is also interpretation. How do we assign meaning to what we see? How do we interpret the events, the encounters that we have with people? And when our inner space is closed, it tightens, our perception also tightens, as if our eyes get narrower, our vision, not the physical sight. We see less context, less complexity. It's the same reality, but we see it differently. So Tevet challenges us not to just see what's happening, but how we interpret it, how we are seeing it, not just what's happening around us. And now I want to invite you to read together a part of Pirkei Avot, which is connected to what we just said about Ayin, about vision, how our inner state shapes our vision. I'm gonna share the screen one moment again. Okay. Okay. This is page 2 of your source sheet. Number 3, Ayin, how inner state shapes vision. This is Mishnah Pirkei Avot. I read some parts of it for you. Whoever possesses these three things, he is of the disciples of Abraham, our father. And whoever possesses three other things, he is of the disciples of Balaam, the wicked. A good eye, a humble spirit, and a moderate appetite. He is of the disciples of Abraham, our father. An evil eye, a haughty spirit, and a limitless appetite. He is of the disciples of Balaam, the wicked. What is the difference between the disciples of Abraham, our father, and the disciples of Balaam, the wicked? The disciples of Abraham, our father, enjoy this world and inherit the world to come. As it is said, I will endow those who love me with substance. I will fill their treasuries. But the disciples of Balaam, the wicked, inherit Gehenna and descend into the nethermost pit, means the lowest pit. As it is said, for you, O God, will bring them down to the nethermost pit. Those murderous and treacherous men, they shall not live out half their days, but I trust in you. So what is relevant for our discussion is really the first half of it here. Those three character traits that show disciples or followers, students of Avraham Avinu, and those three um, that show disciples of Balaam. Okay. So what is the Pirkei Avot saying? Good eye, humble spirit, and a moderate appetite. People who have these, they are disciples of Avraham Avinu. And the opposite of these things, disciples of Bil'am. It's a little bit problematic because there are so many good traits. Why these things? Why specifically these things? What we see here is that this idea that we just said, that everything depends on how we see the events around us. At first glance, you might think it's just a like poetic, modern spirituality saying that, oh, it all depends on your vision, how you see the world around you. But we see that actually this is what the Pirkei Avot said long time ago. This is an ancient idea. It's interesting that the first character trait that Pirkei Avot brings is eye. A good eye for disciples of Avraham Avinu and an evil eye for disciples of Balaam. And it's not accidental, the reason that eye comes first. Students of Avraham having a good eye and students of Balaam having an evil eye, Ayin Ra'ah. Now the commentators say that an Ayin Ra'ah doesn't mean what people think of like evil eye. It means a narrow eye, a constricted vision. We're gonna mention soon that actually that evil eye that people are afraid of, that is also connected with that narrow vision. So we see that everything starts from eye. Everything else follows from that. Humility or arrogance, restraint or craving, unrestricted appetite, connection or conflict with the world around us. Everything follows after eye, after how we see the world. The sages here are teaching us that character doesn't start with action or even with belief. It starts with perception, with how we see people around us, how we see events around us. Before we ask about a person, ask ourselves about a person. How do they behave? We should ask what kind of eye they have. How do they see others? With what type of eye? With a good eye, Ayin Tova, or with constricted vision, with a narrow eye? Now, Rabbeinu Yonah has a very interesting commentary on this. He says, why does the Mishnah speaks like this? I have included that commentary in English only in your source sheet. If you're interested, you can look it up on page 2. of the source sheet. He says, why does the Mishnah speaks like this? First they bring the categories, the general categories, and then the specifics of each category. It could have been shorter, it could have been simpler. Um, the Mishnah could have just said, whoever has these things, they're the students of Abraham, and whoever have those things are the students of Balaam. Why first this statement that there are three things that are for the students of Abraham and three things that are for the students of Balaam? He says, Mishnah is teaching us that these traits are not just part of a long list. It's not saying that students of Avraham Avinu have like 1,000 good traits. These are some of them. So whoever has these is a student of Avraham, but could be that someone who has other traits, not these ones, is also a student of Avraham Avinu. That's not what the Mishnah is saying. It's very intentional. Rabbeinu Yonah says that the Mishnah is teaching us that these traits are not just part of a long list. They are the source of everything else. So those things, Ayin Tova, let me share the source sheet again for you to see the Rabbeinu Yonah. Okay. So he's saying that good eye, humble spirit, and moderate appetite, these things are root of all the good virtues of the disciples of Avraham Avinu. It is because of these things that they have other good traits. And the opposite is true for the students of Balaam. And even in that list, in the list of those three traits, the reason that I is the first on the list is that good I is also the root of the other good things, the other good two traits. So again, Rabbeinu Yonah is emphasizing that the Chazal are teaching us that character doesn't start with action, but with perception. How we see things, that is the source of everything else. All the good things, all the other good things come after Ayin Tova, after having a good perception, good eye. And all the negative things come after a narrowed vision. And that is why the letter of Tevet is Ayin, which means eye, because we are invited to work on our vision, on our perception of other people. And this is a way of working on our relationships. Again, we said relationships with other people is an area that we need to work on in this month. But I want to add something about Ain Ra'ah. Even though it's translated as evil eye, it doesn't mean that the person is necessarily evil. The Mishnah is not talking about villains, evil people. Usually people don't wake up and just decide that they wanna be small, stingy, and with constricted vision. This way of seeing the world, this negative and narrow way of seeing the world, often comes as a response to the situation, to the world around them. When the world feels harsh or unsafe, we tend to become more closed off. It's like a sandy environment. Imagine a sandstorm. What do we do if we're in a sandstorm? We narrow our eyes, not because we don't want to see, but because openness is painful. it hurts us. So it's a protective measure. But when we keep doing it, it becomes like a habit, it becomes automatic. The body learns if I stay open, I get hurt. But if I stay closed, if I narrow, I survive. It becomes like a survival instinct. And Tevet activates that instinct in us. When the light is hidden, when the life feels heavier and the body is more dominant, and that inner eye narrows. But this doesn't mean that it's a month of blame. It's a month of awareness. We just want to be aware of this quality of the month. Tevet puts a choice in front of us of how we want to see the world. We want to see people around us. The students of Avraham Avinu, like Avraham Avinu, they didn't have a good eye because the world around them was unusually kind and generous. They had a good eye because they chose to have a good eye. Avraham Avinu opened his tent, even though uh, logic would say it's not safe. Stay to yourself. The instinct would say, close off, stay protected. But he opened his tent, his arm. He trusted when the world felt uncomfortable, unpredictable. So Tevet doesn't want to force optimism on us, but it invites us to pause and notice, review our life, where my vision is being narrowed, where am I protecting myself in a situation that actually needs vulnerability, needs gentle openness and widening. Before we move on from Ayin, I just want to add one layer that um, the letter Ayin, what is the gematria of it, the numerical value? 70. 70 in Jewish mysticism represents fullness of the physical world. For example, 70 souls of Yakob's family went down to Egypt. We have 70 root nations of the world. 70 shows the divine creation fully expressed. Why? 70, 6 days of creation plus Shabbat, 7, and multiplied by 10 Sefirot, which are the channels of creation, 70. So 70 represents worldliness. World as it appears on the surface, not beneath, on the surface. That's the nature of eye. Eye sees the surface. It has a double nature, actually. Eye can be dangerous and holy at the same time. Dangerous if we stay trapped in this worldliness of what eye sees, and holy if we use it to see through the world. Now, there is a principle that if the first time that a word in Torah starts with a letter, teaches us something about the quality of that letter. And what is the first place that a word in Torah starts with Ayin? It's right in Bereshit. I'm gonna share the screen again with you. Okay. So this pasuk, Bereshit 1, 2, chapter 1, pasuk 2, this is the first time this al that you see. והארץ הייתה תוהו ובוהו, וחושך על פני תהום, ורוח אלוקים מרחפת על פני המים. This al is the first time that a word in Torah starts with Ayin. Al, what does it mean? Above, on the surface. This also hints to the quality of I, the letter Ayin, first time that it comes in the beginning of a word in Torah, Al, on the surface. And that's how I, which is the meaning of Ayin, works. I sees the surface, sees the color of things, sees the shape of things. Ayin is like Esav. He sees that red stew and he wants it right away. Ayin is about instant gratification. I want what I see right now. It's like how a toddler operates. She wants something, she sees something, she wants it right away. But much of Judaism actually invites us to practice delayed gratification. It's not that everything is banned, but most things have specific times. Whether it's intimacy, there are times that you need to wait. We have times of nida that we wait, and after we have times of the menstruation that we wait, and then 7 clean days that we wait until the time. It's delaying that the physical gratification in food. You see something before eating it right away, pause, make a blessing. You had steak, now you want a pizza, wait. Wait for 6 hours. So much of the mitzvot help us practice delayed gratification in everyday life so that it becomes little by little like a spiritual muscle. Ayin is the opposite. Esav is opposite. It's about now, instant gratification. I see that red lentil soup, I want it now. Esav was willing to trade it for the blessing of firstborn because it was about instant gratification. And this connects us back to Hanukkah. We said that Hanukkah, the sages say, one of the fixings, one of the tikkuns of Hanukkah is just looking at the nerot. We are not allowed to draw benefit from them, but just look at the nerot, and we say that's a fixing for our vision. Because the flame kind of trains our eye to see things differently. What is the shape of a flame? It changes. As soon as you try to identify the shape of the flame, the shape changes. So the flames of Hanukkah invite us to see beyond the surface, to go deeper, to see the depth, the context, the movement. In everyday life, if someone says something that really hurts you, don't just see what she said. Go a little bit beyond that surface. Maybe she didn't mean that. Maybe she was just having a hard day. Maybe she just didn't know better. She didn't know any better. And we are invited to continue that vision that hopefully we received from Hanukkah, that refined vision that we received from seeing the candles, to take it with us into Tevet, into a heavy month, a physical month that we need to work on our relationships. We are invited to take that vision with us. What happens if we fail to do so? The emotions can tighten, the judgment can become harder and harsher. That's when anger comes in. Anger and judgment. I was thinking which one to include first, anger or, excuse me, judgment. They're pretty much connected. Ideally, judgment should come first because judgment should be thoughtful and calm and not rushed. But in Tevet, the body is in center. Body reacts first. So anger rises and then usually judgment comes afterwards as a justification to help us justify our anger and say that it's okay to feel angry. But what is anger in its root? Anger in its root is that narrowing of the vision. Is when I don't see the full picture, something is not going in my way, somebody is, let's say, I feel is going on my nerves, and I don't look at it with expanded vision. I don't see Hashem in it. I see my own interpretation of it. That this person shouldn't have said this to me. This shouldn't have happened to me. And that makes me angry. Anger becomes my reaction to what's happening around me. Because of that narrow vision, because I don't include Hashem in that landscape. The anger in Tevet, it's important to say that usually doesn't show as a rage. It's like when we say anger, we mean irritation. Like you feel bothered by something, an inner tension, emotional friction, not necessarily um, rage and full-blown anger. It's that feeling that something is wrong, something feels blocked, and it shouldn't have been like that. And again, that's why anger is compared to idol worship. Because in that moment that I delete Hashem from the picture, I'm putting myself, my ego, in the center. And that's why anger feels convincing, because it gives us um, it gives us certainty in a situation that we need to accept that we don't know the full picture, so there's really no need to get angry. Anger gives us that certainty, that trusting of our judgment, that we know the absolute truth. And our interpretation of the events becomes the center of the world. That's a kind of idol worship, that type of judgment, we can say. And that's when the tribe of the month comes in. Each of the Hebrew months is also connected with a tribe of the Jewish nation. And the tribe associated with Tevet is Dan. What does Dan mean? It comes from the word din, judgment. Dan is tribe of judges. For example, Shimshon was from Dan, and the name itself means judgment. But alongside judgment and judges, Dan is also the tribe that is associated with idol worship. Interestingly, Dan was the first tribe that brought idol worship to the land of Israel. This combination is not accidental. It's teaching us that judgment without humility can easily turn into a false authority, assigning full authority to your own judgment. When you see your perception as the absolute truth, center of the world. But that's why Dan also has another quality. Dan is also known as Me'asef, the collector. The tribe of Dan was the collector of the camp because they were traveling behind everybody else. They were the collectors. Collector of what? Of whoever was falling behind, the weaker, the stragglers, the lost objects. And we can say that that is the tikkun, the fixing of this judgment. Not to stop judging, but to think about what we are collecting. Are we collecting the flaws of people, or we are collecting nekudot tovot, good points? So we are not being asked not to judge in the sense of being indifferent. We are being asked to actively collect good points, to judge favorably. This is what Rabbi Nachman of Breslov says, that we should search and try to find a good point, nekuda tova, in every person. It can't be that there's someone with no good point. or a good point, the good aspect of an action that is not necessarily good. We must search and find something good. We can say that we should try to become collectors of nekudatova. That's how we should try to refine our eye, refine our judgments, refine our vision in this month. And that is also connected with 10th of Tevet, Asara Tevet. What is that day? The beginning of the siege of Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar's army. It's the siege. It's when the enemy's army is getting closer to you. Narrowing is happening. There's no destruction yet. There's no fire or collapse. It's a siege. It's a tightening. It's a narrowing. In Jewish thought, destruction starts with narrowing. Destroying relationships, chas v'shalom, starts with narrowing our vision, having that constricted vision. When the vision narrows, fear wakes up, fear takes over. And when fear takes over, anger gets stronger. And when anger hardens, judgment becomes harsh, becomes absolute. We can say that 10th of Tevet is like the external expression of that narrowing of vision inside us. And it is safe to say that the avodah of that fast, the fast of 10th of Tevet, Bezrat Hashem, next week, is not just about food, about not eating food to commemorate this day. It's an interruption. When we don't eat, we have more time to reflect. We give less to the needs of the body so the soul can speak louder. Fasting slows the body. It quiets the instinct. It creates enough space to notice, where have I closed myself off? Where have I become too certain, too absolute? Where has my judgment turned into a siege? It's narrowing down and it's about to destroy, chas v'shalom, something, a relationship. This has included these reflections in your source sheet. In short, we can say that this fast invites us to soften that grip, to widen that narrowing before things break. And all of that is the final thought, come together in the pasuk that is related to this month. Those letters, the sequence of letters that we said in the beginning, that each month is connected with a sequence of the 4 letters of the Hebrew, of the ineffable name of Hashem, the sequence is not random. It comes from a pasuk. The pasuk is not just a nice association of, oh, by the way, this pasuk also has the same letters. No, the sequence is actually coming from the pasuk. And what is the pasuk for this month? I'm gonna share the screen again. Okay. This is the pasuk for month of Tevet. Gadelu LaHashem iti unromema shmo. You see these letters that are highlighted and in red? The Hey is the final Hey in Shem Hashem. Hey, Yud, Hey, Vav. We said this is the sequence of this month of Tevet. Declare the greatness of the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. Exalt. Romema. This exalting or praising is we can say that is the ultimate tikkun, or the spiritual work of this month. Exalting and praising is the opposite of possessiveness. We say that this is a month and things tend to feel closed, uh, tight. And what does praise do? Praise, gratitude opens the hand. It's the fixing to that tightening. Part of praise is gratitude, to be thankful, to show thanks. And when we are truly grateful for what we have, we become less attached to it. We loosen this grip of holding it so tight. When we have real gratitude, we loosen the grip. Our hand becomes more open because we are less attached to what we have. We understand that ultimately whatever we have is a gift from Hashem. So we feel less threatened also by the possibility of losing it. So we will stop taking people for granted, taking our blessings for granted, and softening our judgment, loosening that grip of the ego. This pasuk is ultimately affirming that everything in our life is a gift from Hashem. And how do we show that? First, by praising Hashem, and then by allowing that praise and gratitude to shape how we relate to others. So if we are really grateful to Hashem, we will also end up being more grateful in our relationships with each other. And what is at the end of the pasuk? Yachdav, together. Let us exalt his name together. That togetherness is key here. Is connected with the theme of relationships that we said. When gratitude replaces possessiveness, the tight grip of ego, intimacy, harmony, and healthy bonding in relationships becomes the natural outcome, the natural consequence. So to tie it all together, everything that we spoke tonight lands us here in praise and gratitude. When the eye narrows, anger rises, and judgment hardens, the work of Tevet is not to force light or to wait for light, but to work on our relationships, to make the relationships in our life become a vessel to receive the light when it comes. Praise and gratitude does the opposite of anger. Anger puts ego in the center. Praise and gratitude brings Hashem back into the center of the life. And in a God-centered life that we have real gratitude for Hashem, we will also have more appreciation and gratitude for people around us. Okay, one moment. That was it. Our circle for Tevet. Bezrat Hashem, we will continue afterwards throughout the month of Tevet to discuss more topics about relationships, working on our relationships. So whatever we discussed tonight gave us the overall picture. First, the cosmic structure of the month, what's happening in this month, what is the flow of the divine energy, And the second part, we saw how all of those ideas are reflected in our emotional world. And Bezrat Hashem, in the future, in Tevet, we are gonna take a few of those ideas, especially Ayin Tova, and we will fine tune in those areas. Bezrat Hashem, that this year, in the fast of 10th of Tevet, Hashem will give us the zichut, not just to fix the ta'ava of eating and drinking in this fast, but to fix our vision, to pause a little bit and reflect upon our life, to see where we are putting a siege in an area in our life, where we are narrowing our vision and tightening, and to help us to soften that tight grip before something breaks, before things break. Bezrat Hashem, that the refined vision that I hope we all received in Hanukkah stays with us in the month of Tevet and help us to refine how we see each other in a new light, in a light of Ayin Tova and not constricted vision. Thank you so much for joining this
Thank you
learning
so much.
circle, and welcome again to our new members, new ladies.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
If
you.
you
Thank
have
you so
any
much.
thoughts, questions, feel free to share either now or later in the chat.
Thank you. Good
Bezrat
night.
Hashem, I'm gonna send the Hitbodedut and journaling prompts. This circle especially requires them because it was a more emotional, reflective circle. So stay tuned. Bezrat Hashem, I'm gonna send it in a couple of days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Take care.
wonderful
Bye.
night.
You too.
You
Take
have a
care. Bye.
great
Good night.
week. Bye.